So it's a pleasure to be here and share some ideas about chemistry teaching. So, because I'm a chemistry teacher, so I focus on, of course, chemistry didactics and how to arrange and how to involve ICT in chemistry education. So, as Vesna mentioned, I'm a lecturer of chemistry and teacher educator and also book writer. And when we are talking about chemistry from my side, I concentrate on secondary schools, mainly upper secondary school chemistry. And I have had a pleasure to make textbooks, or they are not textbooks, they are e-books because they are only digitally open. So I don't trust on papers, I trust on digital tools so far. So I try to shortly express some ideas how to involve teachers in using ICT and what I have done with my students and trying to show the use of different kind of parts of ICT and digital tools in pedagogical point of view. So when we are discussing about the whole picture of chemistry education, I normally try to divide it, the education in three sections, because I try to focus firstly in the pedagogical point of view, and after that collect those ICT models or programs or services or whatever to fulfill those demands which come from different parts or different sections of chemistry education. I have divided chemistry education in three sections where we use pedagogical tools, mainly trying to focus on modeling, visualization, simulation, and so on. And we have a very good free programs to do that with your students. The second part is about cognitive tools, and I am very fond of creating concept maps. Even I demand our students that they have to do concepts. Chemistry is full of different kind of very difficult concepts and explanations about those concepts, and how to put those lines between what concept depends on other concept. And it's part of learning when they are creating those concept maps. And almost in every case when we are making our experimental works, of course they happens in real life, normally not sometimes in at home in kitchen, but they happen in real life, and they have to document it. They make photos, they make probably videos, and they make posters, but they have to, every time they have to somehow document it. So create a digital model or digital artifact of that experiment. Of course, we use virtual learning environments. We use teams like already mentioned here, because you can collect everything in one place and having discussions, having archives, having different kind of managing tools and sharing documents and so on. When we are talking about that third approach or third part of chemistry education. There you have things about like a reflection. I don't have any tests in my classes, so I have to make assessment in different way. And I focus on self-reflection and, of course, creating something according to chemistry curriculum, of course, to show for me something or show for others something. For example, these posters. We have a poster assembly where they tell about their own posters and trying to make clear what they have studied and share their ideas about that item which that poster was made of. Sometimes I've done that I make, after every lesson, I make a blog post, so I try to show our students that I try to reflect myself also, all those lessons, what I have had. So there they can, of course, follow what have happened if they have slept all the lessons, so they can see what happened during class, that lesson. When we have divided this educational approach in three dimensions, of course, you can have other kind of approaches. You might be familiar with some approach. You can just try to find out what kind of levels in what level you are and what is the progress. I really like that Estonian example, and I fully agree with those ideas regarding of Full and Rogers. But of course we have different kind of things we can consider and take advantage from that. Some is one we call T-back, following the Schulman's idea about pedagogical content knowledge, how to integrate technology in different pedagogical part of learning or teaching. Myself, I have done a lot with the learning object theory or idea of learning objects. It's about how teachers try to create themselves learning objects or tools or ideas, how to teach something which you are focusing on in that lesson. Not just take ready-made or just borrow from the books, but trying to evaluate and develop them for your own purpose. And that's, I think, it's in the future, it's quite crucial thing to have idea or at least attitude that I want to create these learning objects or idea to focus on and find out my way to teach that idea. So, of course, when we are talking about how teachers take this ICT development to their own personal development, my opinion is that personal development should be always teacher-led, be continuous, not just we have seminars. It's long-term process, and you need a support for that kind of personal level development. It should be situated or at least connected to that work you are doing in classrooms or in the virtual learning environment. And it should be collaborative. I have created in Finland, it's in Facebook, a Facebook group for chemistry teachers. There's almost 2,000 chemistry teachers and different kind of specialists and experts from government and of course from different textbook writers or companies. But the idea is that we have a virtual community of practices, virtual community where you can ask almost everything. There are no stupid questions, there are only stupid answers. So you can ask all kind of things from your colleagues. For example, I have this kind of lesson, and this is the item. I haven't never teach that because what to do? Do you have any ideas, materials? And they are sharing it. And of course, teachers' professional development include reflective practices. I really like that idea about that selfie teacher because it's for yourself. I normally say if we have a questionnaire, I ask myself and others, is it that a promise for courses or resources for development? If there is just a questionnaire, I normally look away or say that bullshit. We need tools to think about how and where we need professional development. Then these kind of self-reflective tools are very, very important. About my practice, of course, we have already headlines from today or yesterday. We have talked about beyond bring your own device. That's old time because we have cell phones and mobile phones all the time. Cloud computing, it's now clear we have it. This community of practices, I can say that in Finland we have it. I really recommend that for your all countries. We have to have different kind of curation tools and ideas how we compare good and not so good materials. There are a lot of not so good materials, but they are very good basics and or base to create and make it better. That's why there are no bad examples. We have blocking, and I think it's already today system when we are talking about flipped learning. I have tried that also in lower secondary school and upper secondary school. But headlines today and tomorrow, what we think about gamification, it's not just Kahoot, it's much more. How we create really this game education and using game approaches in education. Augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. They are today's and tomorrow's ideas. How to make things so that we see much more than we can see with our own eyes, but what we can see with mobile phones. And I don't know how many of you have played Pokemon Go. It's really good example about augmented reality. Or Jurassic Park thing when we are trying to catch different kind of dinosaurs from our environment. Of course, Internet of Things, it's also today already here, but how we use it in chemistry. When we are talking about different kind of teaching approaches. We are talking about flipped learning, we are talking about blended learning, but today we are talking about hybrid learning. Everything nowadays is hybrid, even our cars. So what is hybrid teaching? And that's really something we have to focus on, because it demands so much from teachers. You have to be online at the same time when you are face-to-face. How to arrange that kind of thing. And of course, during this COVID period, we have had to also think about that. Some days we are present, and next day half of the classroom is in quarantine and they have to be at home. How to arrange the teaching during that time. Of course, it's a good thing that we have ICT. We can just use some pedagogical tools to arrange it. I have used many years already different kind of cognitive tools, concept maps, mind maps, and specialized in modeling, because of course it's funny and it creates a lot of good ideas and good approaches supporting real chemistry. Here's about 2 programs, Worldview.org. I don't know if it's familiar to you, when you can, in a new way, explain electron density and polarity in molecules. And it shows many new things, bond angles and so on, which you can only try to write or draw. Now you can just look in 3D. Of course, you are creating it yourself. All our students are making those molecules themselves. I'm not just showing videos. We now use Marvin sketch programs. It's part of our matriculation test system, but we have also teach several years already our 3D modeling with this Marvin sketch program. Then we have I have used this kind of animator. It's specialized for chemistry teaching, ChemSense animator, and all our students, they are doing this. I don't do it. Of course I can do, and I show how to do it. But now they have to make some. For example, when you are talking about chemistry, almost everything happens so that you can't see it, but you have to imagine it. And how to show what you are imagining, you have to make animations or models. And now I have a tool where they can do it. Chemistry, it's nowadays so that we have a lot of data, and how to use that data so that we can understand what is happening in a real life. For example, in spectroscopy, we have a huge database about different kind of spectrums. And then we can just collect different molecules and find different spectrums of those molecules. Why do we do that? It's now basic work in analytical laboratories in real chemistry. Analytical chemistry, I call it. I have also been a part of project that we are trying to create new approach how to teach spectroscopy, because normally we have a huge tablet and say that that's. Now my students, they are making their own model how to evaluate or how to interpret different kind of spectrums. So they have to make that tool. And that's a new kind of approach. It's not easy, but it gives good results. Of course, we are making our own tools. Sometimes they are so costly that we have to make our own sensors, for example, for electrical conductivity sensors, which one work. It's lower secondary school project. And we are using then Arduinos to collect data and making those signals visible and showing some spectra also from there. And there is this part of computing. They are making small or short programs how to turn those signals in digital language and probably some graphs. That's about computational thinking partly. In Finland, we also don't have any words for computational thinking. I try to find it. It's much more than just programming. When we are talking about analyzing data, here's one example how to try to explain why the water is so different and why. We know that it's different, but why? And now about the computational thinking, we have a lot of different kind of programs and ideas where we can use our big databases. We can try to make a model about what kind of electron clouds we have in our molecules and so on. And when we are talking about ICT in chemistry, it's not just computer-aided chemistry. It's not just giving something, it's making something. And when you are programming yourself or using some data and comparing them using then ICT, you are making new evidence, you are making new kind of statistics for yourself and so on. So it's part of making research as a school level, I think. So here are some of my ideas shortly. I should need 2 days for this, but now I have only 15 minutes, so here's my codes. You can send emails or look at my webpage if you have any questions or ideas.
Thank you, Ari, so much for sharing your experience. Do we have some questions for Ari in the audience? Okay.
No difficult ones, please.
I hope you can hear me. Yes, that's better. Thank you for your presentation. I totally agree with your approach to professional development. In my opinion, that's also the most effective to just teacher collaboration and to do so with each other. We also see this in theory and are currently developing approaches in the Netherlands to encourage such as collaboration with teachers. I'm curious, what would you advise us? How can we support from the government, school leaders and the whole system to help teachers to collaborate with each other and to develop their digital skills? You and your colleagues' needs?
Okay. First thing, I have to again follow Mart about this. It's about change management at school. It's about that. If the principal can't follow or can't make a change, we are missing something really important. And that's it. For example, for us, it's main task to say at school and collect all teachers together and say that we need to make a change if we want a change. That I think it's, in Finland we have a lot of principal education courses nowadays, but they are unfortunately concentrating on management, not so much about leadership. And of course there's a big difference. They have to have a leadership of that group, and how to handle it. It's not easy question, because we are teachers, not leaders, normally.
All right, thank you.
At the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned pedagogical tools, cognitive and metacognitive tools. Which one of them you think is the most important for a good learning process?
I ask no difficult questions.
You can say they are all important. So.
I have to say that I have followed the educational change and progress in UK, in United States, and so on, and we have comparisons, and we have common projects also with, for example, with the Michigan State University, and we have tried to find out what is the real meaning when we are talking about our new curriculum. And if you try to find some words where it is, it's in pedagogy, and in chemistry, it's about modeling, and so that those learners are creating something. They are modeling, they are making artifacts, so they have the ownership of that idea, of that model. And how we teach, as teachers, how we create that possible platform to create that. Of course, when I do it, they think themselves, try to find out something about, then they are discussing in groups. My classroom, it's not traditional, it's only working in groups. And then when they have something, they share it among the classroom. And they are all the time part of that learning process. And that's why I said, when they are doing something, they are modeling, visualization, making animation, and making artifacts. And then cooperation with others, and teacher as supporting part all the time, trying to make difficult questions, not just giving answers.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like, as a chemistry teacher trainer, how do you see those simulations? How do they represent models or processes in chemistry? Are you satisfied with them?
Yes, I have to say that my background is that I've studied more analytical organic chemistry, so you have to find out what the molecules are and why they are, and why they are reacting in that way. When you are using those models, it's much easier also teach and understand why those different and difficult to understand reactions happens. And of course, it's nice to create something. My students, they all like when we are making those molecules and trying to find out what is the right direction to find out what is going to happen in certain directions.
Connection to the topic of the lecture, how do you see, or how is it possible to develop those higher cognitive skills for students through this simulation? For For example, how to apply, how to evaluate, how to create?
We call it planning.
Sorry.
How to create, we call it planning. I plan our lessons so that we have all the time, we have certain kind of certain kind of approach. They have to do certain things. I don't trust on that they look at after school because they have other job to do and other things to do. But I try to make that whole lesson fully and complete. So I have different kind of things in one lesson. We have 75 minutes lesson. So there are always some kind of experimental approach or some experimental part. They have to use ICT on computers in every lesson. So it's normally when lessons start, they open the.
Yes, but whether it's easier for you to develop students' higher cognitive skills through this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
They are documenting every time, all the time, and I'm asking them to return every task. So for me, it's easier. And of course, I walk around all the time as I could.
Yeah. Ari, when I visited Finland, I had the pleasure of visiting your school too, and also to attend your class. And one of the things that impressed me was how your students were using mobile devices, like you said, and you used the editable notebooks idea. Maybe you can share this, what it means, and how students are using this when they are using.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. That when I was a student teacher, I asked my supervisor, what is the best textbook? And he said, I haven't done it. So I have done it. And I'm so flexible and I'm demanding all the time more and more. So I need a book that I can edit all the time. So I have made an editable textbook or e-book. So I can, after lesson or before the lesson, I can just make some notes or make some changes. And my course plan it's real-time course plan. Every day I update it so they can follow me. And it was possible also for students to edit, but sometimes it's made so that they deleted the wrong page. So it was a little bit make some worries. But idea about editable textbooks, it's the future. And of course there are a lot of teachers who just want a textbook, but there are a lot of teachers, they have their own materials, they have their own ideas, they have different versions of how to explain things. They are in different order. Just change in the book. It's quite difficult with paperback books because you have to script your pages and so on. But with these e-books, it's easy.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Let's give a big applause to Ari.